sisters and brothers. David Damon from Local 1700. I'm here with Jim Durkin. Would you give us your official title and a little background to working with Council 93? Like I say, your position, maybe years, and anything that's brought you to this point.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for doing this, David. I think it's a fantastic thing to do for your members. My name is Jim Durkin. I'm the Legislative and Political Action Director for Council 93, and I've been with Council 93 for almost 21 years now. Immediately prior to this, I was working as an aide in the Massachusetts State Senate, and when I originally came on with Council 93, I worked in communications. Partly because I had a journalism background. I worked for many years part-time for my local newspaper, the Lowell Sun, but also because I had just come from the legislature. Under the law, they have a one-year cooling off period, they call it, where any former staffer is not allowed to formally lobby for the first year. Over time, I started doing some legislative work. I worked under Peter Wright for many years, who I know you know, David. I learned a lot from Peter, and when Peter retired, I was fortunate enough to be hired to be director of the department.
I've asked that question of other officers here, and they seem to have the same theme about it's the people before them that did well, bringing people like yourself up and learned very well from you. Had very good mentors.
Definitely true of Peter, and I've said this many times to other people. Some of the stuff I was learning from Peter, I didn't realize I was learning until he was gone, and then a lot of it has come back to me.
Right. Sort of like a parent, he snuck in a lot of learning on you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. Great. Okay. So you gave a little background as to earlier on and when you started getting involved, like you say, working in the state. Was there a time frame that there was a real beginning for you, or did you sort of slowly transition and find your way into the political environment?
I think it was kind of a slow transition in my professional life anyway. I did major in political science in college, but I remember getting interested in politics very, very early on. My dad was very active in local politics, and he convinced my cousin, who was his nephew, to run for local school committee. And he picked him up at work one day and he said to him, "Jerry, did you ever think about running for the school committee?" And he said, "Geez, I don't know what's involved with that." And my father said, "Well, forget about that. Nomination papers are due tomorrow. Let's get you on the ballot. We'll figure that out afterwards." But I also have a very vivid memory of my dad letting me stay home from school to watch President Carter's inauguration. And he explained to me the whole peaceful transition of power, and I was hooked after that. I really was.
That's great. So it was in your household, and that kind of goes with something that I think sort of every time I see you, this is all I know that you do in sort of your life. So in my mind, I kind of picture like a 5-year-old Jim Durkin running around with the United States Constitution in his hand.
Wasn't quite that early, but close enough.
Great, great. Okay, so back to a little bit of business here. What's Council 93 currently doing advocating with recent legislation? The GPO and WEP are a big issue right now that we're trying to push through.
Absolutely, and that's actually a national effort. That is a federal issue. The majority of my work is state legislative work because we're fortunate that we do have a fantastic, in my opinion, the best in the country, legislative department in Washington, D.C. So we do assist our Federal Legislative Affairs Department, mostly in trying to lobby directly with our respective congressmen from our region if they need a little help. A lot of times they're a little bit more responsive to the people that actually elect them and vote for them. But the windfall elimination provision in the government pension offset, it unfortunately has been going on for more than 40 years now. And in a nutshell, it punishes or penalizes people on their Social Security benefit simply because they have a public sector pension. And there's two parts of it. The WEP, or the windfall elimination provision, is if you happen to work 2 jobs or a second job in your career and you're entitled to a Social Security benefit, yes, that benefit is reduced because you also have a public pension.
Right. And there's quite a bit of reduction to that.
It's very significant, and it's formulaic. It's not like a certain set amount, but it is significant, and it's absurd because this is a benefit that people have paid into their entire life. Yes. They didn't pay any less because they had a public pension.
Right.
So they should be entitled to it. And then, of course, the other side is the government pension offset, which in our opinion is the far more egregious of the two. That deals with the survivor benefit. Right. And the example I always use, because it's easy to understand, is my personal example. I'm married to a teacher, and I pay into Social Security as a private sector employee. My wife, because she will be collecting a teacher's pension, if I predecease her, her survivor benefit will be cut by a minimum of 2/3, and in many cases the entire amount. And that's, and it's important to note that about 85% of the people that are affected by the government pension offset are women, simply because statistically they live longer than men.
Yes.
So for a lot of guys, that's their life insurance policy, and we know about this, so we're planning for it.
Right.
But a lot of people, right? A lot of people don't find out about it until they go to apply for that survivor benefit, and there's a question: do you have a public pension? And then all of a sudden they're thinking they were counting on $2,500 a month survivor benefit, and it's gone. And it's just absolutely terrible. So that is a big priority for us, both here in Council 93, but also nationally. Right. And then, of course, then you've got all the state legislation that we work on. We have 4 states,
right? So
we do work in 4 state capitals,
yeah.
And it's a combination of playing offense and defense.
Okay.
Depending on the state, depending on the climate,
yeah.
We have these bills that we file, that we pursue. Sometimes they're AFSCME specific. Other times they're broader, and we work in coalition with public sector unions. But a lot of times it's a matter of playing defense and trying to kill legislation.
You've got a chess match going on.
Right,
right. Defense at the same time. Plenty of moving pieces.
Right.
Okay, great. So, other than particular people you work with, what challenges do you see in this current political climate that's kind of just all over the place?
It's certainly very difficult and very unfortunate for a number of reasons. I think the challenges are when we're communicating with our members. Look, our members reflect the same demographics as the entire state, in the entire country. We have conservatives, we have liberals, and a lot of times, from our Republican and conservative brothers and sisters, we hear a lot of complaints. Well, you guys only just support Democrats. And what I always say is, look, we're your union. It's our job to tell you from a union standpoint who the best candidates are, and that we hope that you will factor that into your decision. We also fully understand that for many people, union issues are not the top issue for them. It might be gun legislation. It might be immigration issues. So all we ask is that, first of all, we stress, remember, we're supposed to tell you from a union standpoint who the best candidates are.
Right.
And we just simply ask that you consider that as part of your decision-making process and not just reject it.
And you have to try and draw people's attention.
Right, right.
Like you said, they may have another issue, but you have to draw their attention to our issues.
Exactly.
All right?
The most important thing is that people get active and get out and vote.
Yes.
Really, you know.
Excellent. Excellent point. Now, I overheard at dinner the other night, and we spoke a little bit earlier, that you've been to the nation's capital. You do have DC people that work here.
Yep.
I've never been there yet as a visitor. I'd love to go. But did you have an occasion to go there where you had to do AFSCME work?
Yes.
And what was your impression the first time you got there and were looking up at all of it?
It's incredibly humbling. It really, really is. But just first of all, just to be there in the building and you know, knowing all the history. But it's especially humbling for me, knowing the privilege I have of being down there and representing AFSCME. To me, that's incredible, and it's not just our nation's capital, but in Augusta, on Beacon Hill, in Concord, New Hampshire, and Montpelier. You can't help but be awed when you step into these buildings. But for me, it's especially gratifying knowing that I'm a voice for so many good, decent, hardworking people.
Well, it's wonderful that you still appreciate it, and we
Never
appreciate
get tired of it.
We appreciate you. I love that about you. And let's close up with a little one at the end here. And do you have any advice for, say, aspiring political activists out there? Someone that's just getting their feet wet.
The most important thing is getting your feet wet. Step one. If you want to get into politics, find a way to get involved, and the easiest place to start is in your local community. You know, we represent a lot of municipal workers, and the municipal members especially, they really have a privilege in that they're among a select group of workers that can hire their own bosses. So, you know, get involved in a city council election, a school committee race, town meeting, a mayoral race, and it's very, very easy, a lot easier than people might think to get involved in local politics.
All right, very good. I'd like to thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
I know you're out
For all
there
you do.
constantly working for us. Sisters and Brothers, 1700, Council 93, Jim Durkin, following all legislation, doing hard work for us every day. Thank
My
you,
pleasure.
sir.
And thank you for being such a great supporter of our union. Appreciate it.